A dismissive avoidant attachment style can genuinely like you and be interested in you, but still accidentally sabotage the relationship. And so in the next 7 or 8 minutes here, you're going to learn major signs that a dismissive avoidant may feel something for you, but their emotional walls may be stronger than their actual desire to connect. Because whilst we may have to give a little more time and space for a dismissive avoidant to do the work, to show up, to be more vulnerable, there's also a difference between staying with somebody when they're actually disinterested, or maybe even confusing somebody who's not interested for a dismissive avoidant attachment style. So we're gonna make this super clear, and at the end of this video, we're gonna talk about what you can do to heal, to address the situation, to have the best outcomes possible, whether you're an anxious attachment style yourself or a fearful avoidant. First sign, okay, that they like you, but they can't commit. Number one, they open up a little bit. Okay, I gave this analogy in another video recently where I talked about how if you see a dismissive avoidant, if you're looking at an anxious or fearful avoidant, they may run a 10K run and you're seeing them really they're running at a fast pace for that 10 kilometers. But a dismissive avoidant, they're just moving more slowly. They're still moving along that 10-kilometer path, but they're just jogging a little bit at a slower pace. Maybe they're going 6 miles an hour instead of 8 miles an hour, right? So you're going to see them being slow moving. But a dismissive avoidant who wants to show up and do the work, they'll still be moving. They're still jogging along the path. You're still seeing them accumulate that distance or getting those miles under their belt, right? But somebody who can't commit, who's a dismissive avoidant, who's afraid, point number one here, they're going to open up briefly. They're going to run the first 100 meters and then they're going to start walking or even walking backwards. So it's they're going to open up briefly, but fully retreat quickly rather than just moving more slowly along the path. I hope you're seeing that difference. I think it's a really important thing to distinguish and to look at your relationship through that lens because it will just give you a lot of clarity as to where somebody's truly at. Number two, another dynamic is that you'll see this person may show up, but they're always inconsistent. Dismissive avoidance, yes, they have inconsistencies, but a dismissive avoidant who's interested and who's ready and willing to commit, they will have inconsistencies, but they will be consistent 80% of the time. And then their 20% inconsistencies, they may really retreat or fall off. But again, if you're using this analogy of somebody jogging, it would almost be maybe somebody jogs the first 100 meters and then suddenly stops jogging and even walks back 10 meters, but then they jog 100 meters again. And then they walk back 10 meters and jog 100. The net moving forward is still taking place. But a dismissive avoidant who's interested but can't commit, they're going to be walking 50 meters forward, 50 meters back, 50 meters forward, 50 meters back. You're not going to see them starting to bank that distance moving in that right direction. Okay, so you're going to see that. And it's a really important sign to pay attention to. Number three, that this person's interested, but they're not emotionally ready for a relationship, is they feel overwhelmed by your emotional needs. And there's a few things that I think for any healthy relationship to have any semblance or foundation of anything secure, there's a few things that you really need, okay? That doesn't matter anybody's attachment style, you need to be vetting for these things. And this is the ability to share about your needs and have each other make an effort to meet them. They don't have to be perfectly met 100% of the time, but there needs to be effort and reciprocity. There also needs to be things like accountability, the ability to talk through problems, maybe not every time perfectly, but at least be willing to make the effort. These are signs that the relationship can go somewhere. But if you're seeing somebody just overwhelmed, purely overwhelmed by your emotional needs, every request feels too much, or they don't know how to talk through things, which is really our next sign, number four. They don't know how to communicate through things or be accountable about it. These are signs that this person, and they're probably a beautiful person, right? A lot of dismissive avoidants are very kind souls, very good people, very honest, very in integrity, but they have to be able to do a little bit of work on interdependency and vulnerability and being okay with sharing of emotions and reciprocity in relationships instead of always focusing and fixating on hyper independence, or that just makes a relationship so tricky and so difficult. Again, I just want to be really clear about something. There's a tremendous amount of dismissive avoidants who show up and do the work, right? There's a huge group of people who are showing up, committed, do the work. But then there's also dismissive avoidants who aren't there yet, right? For whatever reason, in their own journey, they have different priorities, whatever it might be. That happens for every attachment style, quite honestly. So we're trying to filter out the differences, okay? What to really look for if somebody's too unavailable for commitment still, okay? Here's another really interesting sign that somebody's interested but just can't get to that place of commitment is they really want to stay in a relationship dynamic with you, and they're actually making an effort to keep seeing you, to keep hanging out, to doing things. But as soon as things get a little bit too serious, or as soon as there's like talk of the future or things like that, they really try to stay connected. Like they won't try to leave the relationship or push away, the types of things that you would see if somebody's like literally not even going to stick around for the long haul. But they will instead be in a situation where they just always want to keep things in the gray area. Okay. So a dismissive one who's not interested, as soon as you push things, they'll move to like the black area. If we're looking at like black, white, and gray in between, they'll be like, nope, there's a nothing here for me. Like they'll push away and even like run away altogether. But dismissive ones who do really like you, but just can't overcome their own emotional hurdles here, they will more so get into a place where they're like, they just want to keep it in the gray area. They don't want to move into the full commitment area, but they definitely aren't trying to go towards like nothing in the relationship either. They're trying to really stick in that middle area and like do what they can to hold on to you, but not allow things to progress. Okay. And it'll feel very tricky. That's why we're going to talk about what you can do at the end of this video today if you're anxiously attached or fearful avoidant. Number 6, and again, we'll talk about what to do at the end, but you'll see that they tend to be individuals who are better at texting and almost like being vulnerable and connected to you over text message and in communication that way than in person. And in fact, they may kind of sabotage being present in person. They may be restless or hard to make eye contact with for long periods of time, or like in a conversation, they kind of dart away or look away frequently, or be on their phone a lot, because what that's actually showcasing to you is that there's just this deep barrier where like emotional intimacy feels too confronting and too scary. And honestly, it's usually because of their own attachment trauma. And trauma doesn't have to be these like big T traumatic events. Trauma can be like low level emotional neglect over time that like when something has been neglected in you, and then there's this request from somebody to give that, right? Like when that emotional vulnerability is being requested, or that emotional connection's been being requested by a partner, but that hasn't even been nourished within them by their own parents or caregivers growing up, it feels confronting to them. It feels scary. They get kind of scared to be like too seen or too close. And so you'll see that they're like making an effort, and they make an effort over text, or they're pretty consistent about like kind of hanging out for plans or even in groups of people. But the really vulnerable things you'll see that they disconnect from. And again, that's like a really telltale sign that they are interested in you, but just don't know how to overcome their own internal hurdles when it comes to closeness and connection. Now, before I go into sign number 7, and then the most important thing that you can do to address the situation if you're anxious or fearful avoidant, I just want to let you know too, if you are going through a breakup or thinking of leaving a situationship with anybody, even if it's a friendship, family relationship, and you're just trying to like grieve the distance part of the relationship, we have a course that's a free gift for life. You get to keep it. It's a $250 value, and it's called How to Heal from a Breakup. And it literally is available for a very limited time. If you click the link below, you can actually sign up for the 7-day free trial. And even if you never even stick around for the 7-day free trial or stick around after day 7, you still keep that course for life. So it is a gift. It's a free giveaway. You get to keep it for life. I will put a link to it down below. And it's just a great resource to have on hand if you ever go through a breakup or a painful situation in the future. It will take at least 30% of the sting out of the breakup in a shorter period of time, and just really help you understand why we grieve breakups and what you can do about it in really fast acting ways to make the situation much easier. Okay. Number 7. Okay. Signs a dismissive avoidant likes you but is emotionally unavailable for commitment is you see them internally struggling. So you'll see them like making an effort, they're trying to make plans, but they seem to like almost just be in the dark themselves, where they're trying to make this effort, they're trying to show up. They even like hang out with you. But when it comes to all the things that a relationship really needs, the vulnerability, them opening up, them giving you a little bit more transparency and clarity as to what they really need as a person, them being able to meet your needs or show up for them, it's almost like you can sense their inner turmoil and frustration. Like they're in learned helplessness. They usually just don't know what they don't know. Like they're just like, I want to get there, but there's just this, it's almost like you can see the wheels turning, but they just don't know how to quite reach out enough to really get there and have things click into place with you. And you'll see them trying, but in an argument or disagreement, they might be like not knowing how to solve for it, and they'll just shut down and feel hurt and defeated. But then they'll come back around and try to make things work again and keep showing up. But like we need as human beings, in order to have healthy, secure relationships, the ability to work through conflict, the ability to talk things out, the ability to have reciprocal vulnerability, the ability to talk about our needs and be accountable for our stuff. And so often we have dismissive avoidants who are like so well-meaning and who really do want that connection and are coming from that good place, but they've never learned the modeling or the tools from their parents or caregivers for how to work through an argument or conflict, how to to meet each other's needs, how to express their own needs, or even to know what their own needs are because somebody wasn't meeting theirs growing up. And so you kind of see this like yearning for that connection, and that effort is there. But then it just doesn't feel like there's what is truly needed to progress the relationship. And it will feel somebody feeling like they're stuck in the gray area. And of course, the dismissive avoidant themselves is often stuck there until they really learn to do the work and understand a little bit more about themselves. So what do you do if you're on the receiving end of this? And this will always and forever be my guidance on this. You like, if this is something you're ever faced with, I always say set a deadline. Often we love people, we care about them, like we don't want to lose them or let them go. But also it can be really painful to stay in a relationship where your needs are not met, whether it's a fully committed romantic relationship, whether it's kind of this situationship with somebody. It's really hard to be on the receiving end of that, especially if you're anxiously attached or fearful avoidant. And so I always recommend number one, okay, 3 steps. Step 1, set a deadline. Okay. And decide how long you're going to keep trying and making an effort. And I always recommend, like, in that deadline, pour everything you can into the relationship. So if you've been dating somebody for like 6 months, maybe you try for like 2 months, right? You really are like, I'm going to give this a real go. I'm going to learn how to communicate differently. I'm going to work on my fears and wounds. I'm going to like make sure that I understand this person and understand myself better so I can communicate my own needs in a better way. Like, do everything you can for your growth and for you to be 100% responsible for your 50% of the relationship. And step 2, you have to vet how they show up and see, does the needle move? And did I see the progress I'm looking for at the end of that 2 months or whatever your deadline is, right? Because for somebody who's in like a 3-year relationship, it probably won't be 2 months. You might work for 3 to 6 months. You know, it's going to be relative to like your investment with that person, right? And how much you put in. It's going to be different if you have children with the person or a mortgage with the person, or, you know, all those things. You're married to the person than if you're just dating briefly, right? Pick your deadline. Number 2, vet. And then at the end of that, what you've done is you've positioned yourself for a win-win. So either the deadline comes and you haven't seen the progress you need, but because you've poured in, you've grown, you've learned, you've done healing, and now you're okay with stepping away from it. And you also will be able to do so with a sense of closure because you'll walk away guilt and regret free, knowing that you did like literally everything that you can. And if the needle didn't move, then it's probably not going to, and you have that certainty about it and that sense of like, I don't have anything to be regretful over or to feel badly about, and that will help you move on in a peaceful way and have an easier time. Or your best case scenario, of course, is that you're doing the work, you're showing up, and you're leading the way because you've healed your wounds. You know how to communicate your needs in a way that's most likely for the dismissive avoidant to hear that. You know how to show up in really healthy ways in a relationship and set your own boundaries. And by doing these things, by emotionally regulating and communicating and not coming from as triggered of a place and knowing your needs and conveying them and knowing their needs, when you do these things, you're teeing up the relationship to like such a greater chance that it's going to be successful. And if it's not, you walk away and it's still a win because you grew and you have certainty and you have closure and you're more prepared for the next relationship. Or your best case scenario is you literally grew together because somebody just had to kind of follow in your footsteps. And a lot of the time that does happen, not always though. So you have to vet. Okay. That's the most important thing that you'll do. So that's it. I hope this gives you clarity and guidance. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, or subscribe to this channel, or all of those things. I would obviously super appreciate that. And just thank you for being here, for watching, for stopping by. If you have more questions, let me know in the comments below.